All right, guys, this is Gary Usher from Volutone, and it's finally a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. I see a bunch of people hitting us right now. Esmond, Alan, Carl, Sean, good to see you guys. Today, I've got a very special guest, and it is Atlona. It's been a brand that I've heard of for quite some time. Welcome, Steven. Steven, how you doing? He's just getting on. He's part of our panelists. There you go. I like Steven's background. That is a nice place to be, buddy. Let me tell you.
That's our sugar shack up in New York State. We got a couple hundred acres camp up there, and we actually make our own maple syrup. So I forgot that I had this on Zoom. We must have.
That is so cool. So that's real. Listen, we do a lot of Zooms where guys have a background and they say, "Hey, this is my bedroom." Right? There's no way that's your bedroom. No way. Keeping it real. All right. Anyway, guys, let's continue with this presentation here. But no, I'm Gary from Volutone, like I was saying, and this is specifically for the Snap locals, which is AllNet, MRI, Custom Plus, and Volutone. We make up the distributors owned by Snap, and we carry a lot of different products. So it was always important for me to bring in our partners. And at least, obviously, we're going through SKUs, we're going through great conversations. But I want to urge you guys to discuss what it is that you're having in the field, any kind of issues like that. We know you've got choices, especially with the distributors. When it comes to AV distribution, Kurt and I were just talking about this, where you've got a lot of choices out there. We're giving you a lot of choices, but we want to talk specifically about Atlona today and feature sets, and you're in really good hands. So. With that, and thank you very much for tuning in for these every few days, about an hour at each time. But I wanted to remind you that I will put together a 4 o'clock email, that's West Coast, and it will include the video that you're about to see. Please share it with your team. It'll include Kurt's presentation as well. So, and any other links to AllNet, MRI, and Volutone. So you're in good hands. You will get a follow-up today at 4 p.m. from me. Happy Friday, guys. Stay safe. Things are getting busier, so I think everybody is enjoying. It could be worse. We're all in a good spot. It's in our hands to continue to move forward. There's a lot of customers out there that need our help. So, with that, thank you from Volutone, AllNet, MRI, Custom Plus, and Snap AV, guys. I'm going to turn it over. Steven, it's good to thank you very much for showing up and showing us your sugar shack. I'm going to turn it over to Kurt. Kurt, thank you so much for this. I look forward to the presentation. You guys do Q&A below. Steven and I or Kurt can actually look at the questions coming through. We'll try to answer them. If we kind of see them getting applied to something we're going to cover, we can cover it at the very end. So with that, from Volutone, you guys, I'm going to turn it over to Kurt. Kurt, it's all yours, bud. Thank you so much.
All right, terrific. Thanks. Appreciate it, Gary. Hey, everybody, appreciate you taking the time today on a Friday to visit with us. So we just kind of wanted to have an Atlona reintroduction. We've got a couple of new products we're going to talk about, and just a real brief review of some of the products that you're familiar with or may not be familiar with. So we're just kind of go over it. Like I said, I'm the Western Regional for Atlona. Steven is does the East Coast. He's my East Coast counterpart. So like I said, questions, anything, feel free to chime in with anything that you've got. So first of all, let's just kind of talk about Atlona and remember that lockup we talked about, Gary? Let's see. There it goes. So let's talk about just a couple of specific things about Atlona. For any of you that aren't aware, there's a couple of things that make us a little bit unique. So we were the first manufacturer to come up with a 10-year warranty, and that's still in place. So every single product that Atlona that you purchase from us is going to have a 10-year manufacturer's warranty on it. You know, is your customer going to have that product for 10 years? Likely not, but it gives you just a peace of mind where you can go to your customer and say, hey, you know, Joe down the street might be speccing this product from ABC clone brand, but hey, this is Atlona. So, and it's going to have that 10-year warranty. So, a little bit more background before I get into this too, just so you all know, at Atlona, we manufacture and design all of our own products. We're not a rubber stamp company. So there's two different ways that you can purchase product when you go, because everybody's making stuff offshore. All of our product, first of all, we don't have any product that's made in China proper. All of our stuff would be, is manufactured in either Taiwan, perhaps some of it in Israel, and some of it in Eastern Europe. But so there's no concerns there as far as supply goes. All of our product, we actually have, we're based in the Silicon Valley in San Jose, and we actually have engineers on staff that engineer the product. So rather than going over to these factories overseas and just saying, hey, let's see, give me that, and that, stamp my name on it and send it over to me. We don't do that. We actually go about it a little differently. So we'll design a product, we'll engineer a product, and then we go to the factories and say, hey, can you make this for us, and how much is it going to cost? Now, with that said, there are some pretty basics and little adapters and things like that that might be, you know, very similar to what other people have, but the majority of our product is unique. So we play everywhere. So we do both residential and we do commercial applications. Stephen and I are both on the residential side. Now, to be clear, we consider light commercial, office spaces, huddle spaces, sports bars, things like that. That's all considered residential in our space. We do have a commercial division, but they're out chasing, you know, the big government jobs, the big university jobs, massive casinos, you know, things like that. So again, conference rooms, meeting rooms, facility-wide integration, we can do just about everything for your customers. And then of course, all of the residential stuff. The traditional products that you can get from Atlona, HDbaser extenders. So we've got 3 lines. We've got a full HDR supported line. That's a full 18 gig solution. We've got our UHD line of products for cost sensitive solutions. And we're going to be introducing the AVA or Avance line of products next month. So these will sort of replace the UHD product, but I wanted to leave them both in here since the UHD will be available going forward as well. Matrix switches, we've got both HDbaser, our HDR series, which is the Opus series of switches. Standard HDbaser, standard 4K non-HDR switches, and then straight HDMI to HDMI switches. Okay, and then we have HDMI distribution products. So, you know, one HDMI in and lots of outputs. So we have both an HDbaser and an HDMI solution for those. And then, of course, light commercial solutions, meeting spaces, conference rooms, boardrooms, things like that. So let's talk first about extenders. So the Avance extender family is, like I said, we're just introducing that. We're going to start shipping it next month. So the Avance series is not an HDR product. So this will be your budget solution. So if you have a customer that doesn't care about HDR, really doesn't know about HDR, and you know you want to save $100 on the extender pair at the MSRP, we will have this line available. Okay, we'll have our model numbers. Let me kind of explain those to you a little bit. So AT, everything starts with AT. AVA would mean Avance. EX just means it's an extender product. And then the number that you see after that, that's the chipset that we're using. So there's 2 basic chipsets with HDbaser, as most of you know, 70 meters and 100 meter chipsets. So those are the common names for them. Now bear in mind that that 70 meters and 100 meters refers to a 1080p signal, how far we can send a 1080p signal, excuse me, over a Cat6 cable, okay? So the 70 meter would be the light, if you will, HDbaser chipset, and a 100 meter would be the extended distance HDbaser chipset. And then after the 70, you'll see this particular model says 2PS. That stands for 2 power supplies, okay? And then KIT just means that it's the transmitter and the receiver both in one box for you. So this particular model, the AVA EX70, would be our audio video only solution with a power supply on both sides. Then the step-up model would be the EX70-KIT. This model, you would step up to power over Ethernet. So you only have to have a power supply on the transmitting end. And then the AVA EX70, so again, that 70 meter chipset, and then C for control. So this piece would actually send the audio and the video, as well as the IR, RS-232 commands, etc., all over the same cable as well. Okay, and again, a single power supply. Okay. So with those, we've actually got two other solutions that we're going to have available as well. These are, so again, sticking with the model numbers, the AVA for Avant series, EX extender, so 70-meter chipset, C for control, but now we've added a dash BP. That dash BP refers to bi-powered. So this particular piece can be powered from either end. There are some applications, especially in some light commercial applications, where you don't have power available on the transmitting end, but you do on the receiving end because you've got the TV there that has to be plugged in. So this piece you can power from one side or the other. And then its big brother, the EX100. So this is the 100-meter chipset. C for control. And then we've added here E for Ethernet. Okay, so one of the advantages to this 100-meter chipset with HDbaser is that now I can actually include data transmission as well. So again, with this particular this particular extender kit, BP bi-powered, power it from either end, and now I'm sending audio and video, control signals, and data all over the same category cable. Okay, these pieces will be available, like I said, mid-July. Okay, we do have, these are the standard extenders that we do have now. I won't spend a ton of time on these, but again, just going back to the same model number nomenclature that we talked about. You've got UHD, okay, that means that it's a 4K product. EX means it's an extender product. 70 is the chipset, 2 PS, 2 power supplies, audio and video only. You step up to the 70 kit, and then you've got the power over Ethernet. The 70C kit adds control. And then the 100, so it's the 100-meter full-on chipset, C for control, E for Ethernet, okay? And then you've got over here the UHD 100, excuse me, so that's 100-meter chipset, C for control, E for Ethernet, okay? So this will do everything, so that's your top of the line. Now the bread and butter for, again, these are a cost-based solution for you. Customer doesn't care about HDR, great, these are a terrific product. But the bread and butter is gonna be the, oh, I'm sorry, we talked about the Avants. I have one slide out of order. This is gonna be your bread and butter. This is our HDR line of extenders. So these are a full 18 gig solution. So again, model number nomenclature, AT-HDR, tells you that it's full on HDR, and we can support any format of HDR with these. EX for the extender kit. 70 tells you that it's the light, if you will, chipset, and 2 PS for 2 power supplies. So again, this piece, audio and video only, 2 power supplies required, okay? Then you've got the HDR EX70C, again for control kit, okay? So this is going to give you the 70-meter chipset, 1 power supply on the transmitting end only, okay? Again, the receiver is going to get its power over that same category cable that's transmitting the audio, video, and control. And then the 100 or HDR EX 100-meter chipset, C for control, E for Ethernet. Now we've thrown another one at you, A for audio. So this is a very unique solution. So this piece now actually has an optical audio input on the receiving end and an optical audio output on the transmitting end. So this is a perfect piece if you've got that customer that's got that big, huge, beautiful 4K HDR TV in the living room. They've got all kinds of nice apps on it, Netflix, etc., and they want to get that audio back to wherever the source was. This solution will do that for them, okay? Another thing that makes the HDR series unique is you see on 2 of these models, you have this little white button here. So what this extender also will allow you to do, and it's a little different than a lot of other products out there, is you can actually plug this in and use it as a line tester. And we've got a lot of our customers that do that. So you plug it in, you plug your laptop into the Ethernet port on the extender, you switch that little white switch over here into a test mode, And now this is actually going to give you a readout on your laptop that's going to tell you, you know, not just, okay, yeah, I see a signal. It's going to tell you, okay, am I seeing 5 volts here? Am I seeing HDCP compliance on the transmitting end and the receiving end? So if you do have any problems, it's going to help you diagnose where those problems may lie. So you can check those lines even before you go out and do the installation, or before you go out and you're ready to actually put the product in, just to make sure all the lines are good. I've got a couple of dealers that tell me that they go in and check every one of theirs, because again, you're pulling cable through the drywall or through the wall and everything else. Then the contractor comes in, starts putting up drywall. You don't know if he's put a nail through somewhere, etc. This piece will allow you to test that continuity and test everything prior. Okay. So this is just a bigger picture of the 100 CEA piece. Here shows you the little test connector there, or the test switch. Shows you all the connections, the optical audio input here on the receiver, and the optical audio output on the transmitter. So that's about it for the extenders. Oh, one other unique thing that I wanted to point out with our extenders too is, with the exception of the double power supply pieces, you'll notice the power supply plug that we use here. Actually, you can. It's not a Phoenix connector, but a connector that you can actually strip wires, plug into there yourself. So the advantage to that is we actually have the capability to power up to 3 of these extenders off of one power supply. So it's a real good cost savings feature for you, and just cleans up the rack a lot. So I can basically plug the power supply into this one piece, just strip an extra piece of wire, run it to the next one, plug it into the power supply there, run it over to the next one, plug it into the power supply there, and now I'm powering 3 of these off of one power supply. Makes for a nice clean rack, a nice clean install, and doesn't take up a whole bunch of valuable power outlets in the install. Okay, so that's it for the extender line. So matrix, next is matrix switches, unless anybody's got any questions on the extenders. We good, Gary?
Looking for questions? No Q&As right now, so let's keep going in matrix.
All right, so let's talk about matrix switches. So the bread and butter of the residential world. So we have 2 different series of matrix switches. We have the what we call the Pro 3 series of matrix switches that have been out forever. There's a lot of things that make these products unique. Again, these are not HDR, but we still find that about half of the installations out there that we're seeing are non-HDR installations. So we have no intentions of discontinuing this line anytime soon. So all of our models, we have everything from a 4x4 or a 4x5 up to a 16x20 matrix switch in the Pro 3 line. And I'm just going to talk about a couple of the things that make us unique or make us different than some other manufacturers. So besides the 10-year warranty that we talked about, one of the things with all of our matrix switches is that we have a mixture of 70 meter and 100 meter chipsets built into these pieces. So that you'll notice on the back, for instance, here on this 6x6 matrix switch, you'll notice that you have 3 HDbaser or 4 HDbaser outputs that are numbered, and then the others that actually say XD for extended distance. So the reason we did this is, again, in a 1080p world, yeah, most of the time 70 meters was fine. But in a 4K world, one of the things with those HDbaser chipsets that a lot of you know, but some of you may not, is that, again, when we say it's a 70 meter chipset, that's a 1080p signal over a Cat6a cable. When you ramp that up to a 4K signal, you're dropping that down to about a 40 meter or 35 meter capability. And then if you happen to be working with legacy, somebody put in Cat5 instead, you're reducing that distance even further. The beauty of the 100 meter chipset is that it's 100 meters regardless. As long as it's Cat6a cable, you're going to get 100 meters, whether it's 1080p or a 4K signal, okay? So in a 4K world, we realize that there may be some runs where on a 4K signal, where that 40 meters or 35 meters of these outputs isn't going to be enough. So we give you the option of a couple of 100 meter runs. Now, we have 2 separate receivers that go with these switches, a 70 meter receiver and a 100 meter receiver. But if all of your runs are short runs, there's no need to use a 100-meter receiver, even though these are 100-meter outputs. You can just slap a 70-meter receiver on there. It's always just lowest common denominator. Okay. So that's one thing that makes all of makes our switches unique. Another thing is we've gone full internal power supply. A lot of other manufacturers are doing that at this point, but you'll notice all it is a power plug going in here. There's not a great big brick that you're going to have to hide somewhere in the rack. Okay. We also, you'll notice on all of the switches have some HDMI outs as well. So on the 4x4, you'll see that there's one HDMI output here. And on the 6x6, there's two HDMI outs. And those can be, you have your choice of configuration. So those can be mated to one of the HDbaser outs. So for instance, if I'm going into Dad's home theater room and there's an AV receiver in that room as well as the display, I just run the HDMI output here and the HDbaser output both to that room so that I can get a signal. The other option is if I need a couple of extra zones, if 6 outputs is not enough, I can configure this switch so that these HDMI outs are completely separate zones, effectively turning this into a 6x8 matrix switch. And same thing up here with the 4x4, using that HDMI out, it actually can be configured as a 4x5 matrix switch. Okay. Then we also make an 8x8 model and a 16x16 model. On the 8x8, you'll notice that half of the outputs are extended distance and half of them are standard distance. Same with the 1616, half and half on the outputs. The 8x8's got 2 HDMI outs, so it actually can be configured as an 8x10 switch. And the 1616 has 4 HDMI outs, so it can be configured as a 16x20 matrix switch. Okay. We're control agnostic, so any control system that you want to use will work with these pieces. On the Atlona website, you can find all of the drivers for these. You can just pull them off, and it's plug and play. Okay. Now, the bread and butter of the line and the pieces that are really doing well right now are the Opus line of switches. So we have 3 models. We have a 4x6, a 6x8, and an 8x10. So there's a couple of primary step-up features going from the Pro 3 series to the Opus switch. So the main 3 things that you want to remember with the Opus switches that they give you over the Pro 3s is, number 1, all of the outputs are 100-meter outputs. Okay? So that gives us the capability to actually transmit data as well. So this switch can actually get to all of the various zones, your audio video, your control, and data. So sometimes you may have an application where a wireless network is not really feasible or not reliable. So you'll be able to get data over to all of those displays in the different rooms so that the customer can use all of those great streaming apps and everything that are built into the display. Okay. The other big difference with these pieces is they're HDR capable. So, and again, with HDR, we support every format, HDR10, HLG, Dolby Vision at 30 Hertz. We can do all of that. And then the other big step up with the Opus switches from the Pro 3 is that these are a full-on audio matrix as well. So no need now, if you have a small audio matrix need, these can handle it all, and there's no separate need in some installations for a separate audio matrix. It can really bring the cost of a system down. It can make you a lot more competitive in your bids for your customer, and it gives them the capability to completely independently switch audio sources, mix audio and video sources if you want to do that as well. Okay, so if I look at a bigger picture here of the 8x10 switch for existence, or for example, I can take, for instance, video from the HDbaser output number 1, but audio out from one of the outputs down here, and I can mix those. So application would be, Dad's having a pool party and he wants to have the football game on in the background, but hey, he wants to have music coming from the speakers in that room, just nice background music. He can mix those. There's no problem whatsoever. Okay. On all of these switches, we have the same HDMI outputs as well. So again, these HDMI outputs can be matrixed separately, or they can be tied to one of these outputs. Another thing that makes the Opus series unique is you'll notice that this is the receiver, the Opus-RX, that for all of the Opus switches. You notice that we have that optical audio input now on the receiver for the switch. So again, I can get that audio from the remote room back to the rack for that customer. And again, gives the customer, without having to run an extra extender pair just to get the audio back, or an audio extender pair. Okay, so again, just trying to make it convenient, nice and easy. And again, we're control agnostic. We'll work with any control system at all. And you go to our website at atlona.com, pull down the model number, and all of the drivers are right there for you to find. Okay. I realize I'm breezing through this really fast. We got a lot of stuff to cover in the hour that we're allotted, and I wanted to leave plenty of time at the end for Q&A as well. So here's another piece that we're going to be introducing next month, another receiver option for the Opus series switches. We call it the Opus RX41. So again, it's a standard HDBaseT receiver, but you'll notice that we've got, in addition to the HDBaseT input, I've got 3 local HDMI inputs as well. So the beauty of this piece is that I can then put this in the remote room, say it's in the kids' playroom or in the basement game room or something like that. I can get my source here for the HDBaseT input from the rack, but say Junior comes in and he just wants to plug his game system into the HDMI input, play a game on that local display that's there, he can do that. He plugs into one of the HDMI inputs, and this can be configured to auto switch, auto sense, and auto switch as well. So you can just have an HDMI cable going here to a wall plate with an HDMI input, and then Junior can plug that game in. It's automatically going to switch over to that input. He's going to play his game on the display in that room. He's going to unplug or turn the power off on that gaming system, and this is automatically going to switch back to the HDBaseT input that's coming from the matrix switch. So nice, convenient, easy for the customer. And then this piece can be either powered locally, or it is going to be PoE, just like the other receivers. All of the receivers for all of these switches are powered through the HDBaseT cable, just to make it a little bit more convenient, a little bit easier for you. Okay, so that is, in a nutshell, the switches. So we do have and just interrupt me at any time, Gary, if we get any questions that pop up. So distribution amplifiers is another place that we play. So we basically got 2 lines of distribution amplifiers. We call this our Rondo line of product. And just the easiest way to remember this, RON, Rondo, means it's a distribution amp. And then the last number here is the amount of outputs that it has. So we've got a 1-in, 2-out HDMI to HDMI distribution amp, a 1-in, 4-out, and a 1-in, 8-out distribution amp. Again, the application here, of course, is going to be for sports bars, etc. These are fully HDR capable, HDCP 2.2 compliant, all of that good stuff we support, as you can see down here, as we do on the matrix switches, any audio format, Dolby Digital, Digital Plus, etc. Okay, so the other line of distribution amps that we have, and these are kind of unique, is that we've got HDMI in and HDBaseT out options as well. So you've got an HDMI signal coming in here, you've got HDBaseT coming out, and these pieces do support control as well. So the application there would be a sports bar. You've got several sources coming in from, say, from a matrix, or sources going into a matrix switch and then going into these distribution amps to run to, say, 4 different walls. So that way, over one category 6 cable, I'm sending the audio and the video, and I'm sending the control so that the display can be controlled via RS-232 or IR. Excuse me. Over that one cable. Again, makes it a nice, simple, clean installation for a sports bar, something like that, rather than having to run a separate extender pair just to control the displays. Okay. So there's 4 models. There's a 1-in, 2-out, 1-in, 4-out, and 1-in, 8-out. And there's 2 different versions of the 4-out. One is an extended distance and one is a standard distance. So 100-meter outputs, 70-meter outputs. And then on all of these, we have an HDMI out as well. So that could be used to run to a local monitor just to see what's going on with the system. Or it could actually be, you could slap an extender pair on that and turn this into a 1x5 or a 1-in-5 out. Or I can daisy chain this. So if I've got a lot of distribution to do, I can just run an HDMI out here into another one of the UHD cat pieces. And you can daisy chain, I believe it's up to 4 of these things with no problem whatsoever. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. All right, so light commercial. Light commercial is really one place where Atlona shines. We've been in the light commercial business for quite a while. A lot more people are starting to get into it because we realize that that's where a lot of the growth is coming from. And with the events going on now that we're all too familiar with COVID and everything else, I think light commercial is going to become a lot more important as people start to transitioning to working from home and try to figure out how to do that. There's also going to be a lot of those standard conference rooms and things like that, or huddle spaces that have been the staple of businesses forever. A lot of this is going to be shaken up. A lot of people are going to want to go touchless and say, hey, I don't want to touch this. I want something simple. I want something easy. I don't want everybody to have to pass around one controller. So we've got a lot of solutions that can help you in some of those applications. I'm going to start with just a basic. So this is, I'd say this product is really what put Atlona on the map in the commercial world. We came out with the HDVS line of products. The HDVS-150 is our entry level. So we have an HDVS-150 kit and then a 150 wall plate kit or 150 WP kit. The example that I'm showing you here, the easiest way to think of this product, this is a simple point-to-point boardroom solution, but think of it as it's an extender pair. First and foremost, standard extender pair, okay? But it just so happens that on the transmitter side of the extender pair, I've added a switcher, a video switcher. I've got an HDMI input, I've got two HDMI inputs, a VGA input, and this thing auto senses and auto switches just like we talked about on that Juno piece. So you can set this up for your customer so that as soon as somebody plugs into one of these pieces, it's automatically going to switch to that input. Somebody then comes in and plugs into the VGA input, it's automatically going to switch to the VGA input. They unplug, it's automatically going to switch back to the first HDMI input, okay? Then on the receiving end of it, we built a scaler into this. So it can be set up to scale to whatever the display in that conference room wants to see. So no more going in and plugging my laptop in and fumbling with the resolutions and trying to get it to look right on the screen. It's going to look right as automatically as soon as I start displaying on it. So regardless of whether I'm 1080p, I'm 4K, it's automatic. You're not going to see a stretch. You're not going to see a squash. It's just going to look nice and neat. Okay. Now we've also built something into all of our, a lot of our products, our HDbaser products that we call automatic display control. Again, simple point-to-point solution. If the customer just has a boardroom and says, I need a way to get video from here to that display up there, and I want to be able to plug in multiple devices, but my budget is $1,500 for the room. You can't spec a control system for that. So what we built in here is in this piece, you can go in and configure this for your customer so that as soon as it detects any input at all through any one of these inputs, this is going to automatically send a command to turn the display on. Okay, nothing required, no control. It's all built in. Plug in my computer, display comes on automatically. I do my presentation, I unplug and walk away, turns this display off automatically. Okay, simple, easy to use. Then you can notice in this particular example, I have an audio pull off as well. So that if I just need to, in case they don't want to use the speakers built into the display that's on the wall to present, I just run this into a little amplifier, in this case our PA100, our little 40 watt times 2 amp, or 20 watt times 2 amplifier, and just run a couple of speakers off of that. Okay, so this is our entry level point-to-point solution. Retail on this piece, suggested retail on this, I believe is $1,100. So it gives you a nice, inexpensive option for a boardroom huddle space point-to-point solution. Okay. Now to take that a bit further, we introduced the HDVS-200 series of products. So it's exactly what I just explained to you, but we've taken the automatic display control to the next level. So now you'll notice it has the same inputs, the same outputs, the same scaler, etc. But now you'll notice I've got volume control buttons and an input button as well now. So that automatic display control, instead of just turning the display on automatically, the customer, if they want to, can manually switch inputs. They can turn the volume up and down here, and that volume up and down can do one of two things. It can either turn the volume up and down on the display itself on the wall, if they're using the speakers and the display for their audio, or again, if I'm using these audio pull-offs and running into this little separate amplifier at the top of the screen here, it'll attenuate the volume coming out of there, okay? So again, no control system needed. This thing will turn the volume up and down on the TV, turn the display on and off automatically, gives you a nice simple point-to-point solution. And I believe this piece is around 1,500 MSRP. So again, it gives you a nice simple solution for your customer. Now on this piece, on the 200, we've also added, excuse me, we've added a relay on this piece as well, so that if the customer is using a projector and they want it to drop a screen automatically, they can do that as well. Okay, so again, your customer experience here with this piece for about $1,500 retail is they walk into the conference room, plug in their laptop, the projector turns itself on, the screen drops automatically from the ceiling, they do their presentation, it's not stretched, it's not bent. They finish their presentation, they unplug, they walk out of the room, and 30 seconds later, or however long you program it to wait, it turns the projector off and rolls the screen back up into the ceiling. Again, all automatically, no control required. Okay. And then in the HDVS line, we have a wall plate version of it as well. I mentioned that. So if they don't want the box version, they can opt for the wall plate version of the transmitter. And the wall plate, the only thing that you sacrifice is one HDMI input. So it's one HDMI in and one VGA in. Okay. Another thing on this that I should mention is that all of these on a standard extender pair, usually something with power over Ethernet capability, the transmitter is sending power to the receiver. With these pieces, it's exactly the opposite, okay? The receiver is going to send power to the transmitter. The reason for that is most of the applications for this, you're going to have, excuse me, you're going to have power where the display is, but you may not have power on a conference room table, and you don't want to mess with any coding restrictions or things like that, running power through a wall in the case of the power or the wall plate. So again, this one, you're going to power the receiving side that's by the display, and the transmitter is going to get its power from there. Okay. So that's the HDVS-200. And then we've just added a couple of more models to give you a little more flexibility. VGA, we know, is going the way of the buffalo, and USB-C is now where it's at. So we introduced two more versions of the wall plate that have both a USB-C input and an HDMI input, or two HDMI inputs. Okay. Now on these pieces, note that you do lose the volume control capability on the display. And it's available in either black or white, either one of these pieces for you. And again, it has that same auto switching that we talked about, all of that good stuff. Okay. And then again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but just be aware that we've got a lot of what we call our SW matrix line. So for instance, these products, I'm looking at, for instance, the UHD SW52. So this would be SW for a switch, 5 for 5 inputs, 2 for 2 outputs. Okay, so I've got 5 HDMI ins, an HDMI and an HDBaser T output that are mirrored to each other. but this has the same automatic display control built into it that we talked about. So again, this could be configured so that you plug something into one of these inputs automatically. This will send if you're using the HDbaser output, send an on command to turn that display on automatically. Okay, and again, a lot of flexibility. Here's a piece that you lose 2 of the HDMI inputs in favor of HDbaser inputs. So then you can start using one of those wall plates that we talked about previously and plug it into here and get a lot of flexibility for a boardroom type situation. Okay. Oh, look at that. There's even animation. So, and then this is a version, that receiver that we talked about for the Opus line. This is a standalone version of that piece as well. It's called the Juno 451 HDbaser. So with this piece, I've got, again, if I have an application where I need to get HDbaser input from a long distance somewhere, but I have local inputs as well, this will do the automatic switching that we talked about and gives you that capability. Okay. Now I'm going to switch gears, talk a little bit about some wireless boardroom solutions. And this is the category where we've seen explosive growth over the past year. And again, now with the current situation and everybody being very, very conscious about touching things, this is, I think, really going to take off to a greater extent now. We introduced the this piece, the UHD SW510W, a little over a year ago, and it's been our #1 selling piece, I think, since we introduced it. So what this piece does, think of it first and foremost as a switcher. So this is a conference room solution. So my problem here is I've got a conference room. I want people to be able to come in and present any way that they want to present in any format that they want to present, and send that to a display up on the wall of the conference room, a projector, etc. So now what I've got here is I've got my standard hard inputs. I've got a couple of HDMI inputs. I've got a DisplayPort input, and I've got a USB-C input. Okay, and then I've got mirrored HDMI and HDbaser outputs. But what makes this piece unique is it comes with some dongles that plug into these little inputs up here to make it wireless. So now, in addition to all of these inputs, I can present wirelessly. So say I just want to come in with my iPad and I want to use AirPlay to wirelessly send signal and show it on that display that's up on the wall. I can do it through this piece. And I don't even have to have it tied into a network, because this piece can generate its own Wi-Fi hotspot as well. So again, I come into the room, I just pull up the SSID for this piece, and I start presenting. Okay. It can be tied into an existing network as well if your customer prefers that, but it doesn't have to. A couple of other things that make this piece unique is it generates its own splash screen as well. So if I'm using these outputs and running into a display, that splash screen, you can, as soon as it detects an input, for instance, it will automatically turn the display on because it has that automatic display control built in that we talked about. And when it turns that display on, it will automatically pop up with a screen that says, actually, it'll say anything you program it, anything you want to program it to say. It's fully customizable. So your customer's logo can be up there, and in front of the logo, it can say, welcome to conference room #3. Would you like to connect? If so, here's your SSID, here's your password, and away you go. Okay, so it's a totally wireless, simple, easy solution. I also have a trigger and a relay on this. So again, the customer experience with this piece, I plug in to a room sensor, for instance, up here. And the customer experience can be somebody walks into the boardroom. All they do is they walk into this specific conference room, display turns itself on, splash screen pops up, says, welcome to the conference room. Would you like to connect? I take my iPhone, my iPad, my computer. I mean, it's compatible with Miracast, Chromecast, whatever you want to use, whatever wireless format you want to use. And I just start wirelessly presenting on that display that's up on the wall in that conference room. Again, no control system required. MSRP on this piece, actually, I need to update that. It went up to $2,050 in January. But still, at $2,000, this is a very inexpensive wireless conference room solution that you can present to your customers. And I know that there's a lot of residential guys out there who may be not too comfortable doing light commercial, we can certainly help you get into that, and Volutone can help you get into that business with these types of products, okay? Or MRI, AllNet, etc. Okay? So that is the SW510W. Then we're going to be introducing next month the next generation of this piece. We're going to call it Omega. So all of our light commercial products we call the Omega line of products. So all of the model numbers will start with OME, okay? So on the Omega, this particular piece is the MS52, so 5 inputs, 2 outputs, W for wireless. And what we've added now is USB connectivity as well. So I have all of the same functionality that we just talked about with that 510. I've got my hard inputs, I've got my wireless capability, any way that I want to transmit, but now I can incorporate any USB products into this as well. I've got a couple of host ports so I can plug a laptop into this. On my laptop, I've got Zoom, I've got GoToMeeting, I've got whatever soft codec system I want to use, and that's all now tied into the same system, okay? I've got standard USB inputs here as well. So I can plug cameras into it, I can plug USB microphones into it, whatever I want, and now this is a very, very capable, flexible conference room solution that you can pitch to your dealers. Again, we think it's going to be available late July. Right now it's going through beta testing. It was delayed a little bit while our office in San Jose was closed down, but we should get it out late July for you. This is going to be a very, very capable piece. The SW510W that we just talked about will remain in the line for customers that don't need USB. At a $2,000 price point, this piece is going to be $2,500. So for $500 step up, I get the USB connectivity and capabilities. Very strong piece and a very easy piece for you to get into, again, so you can hit some budgets. And again, I think with what's going on in the world right now, touchless is where it's at. People are going to want to go into that conference room, and they're not going to want to touch the same control screen that everybody else in that room has used, or laptop or mouse or whatever. So now they can come into the room, open up their own phone, open up their own iPad, and just start presenting from there. I think this is going to be a very important objective for a lot of corporate customers going forward. Okay. So those are the two wireless solutions that we offer. Again, all of these, again, the 52 should be available late July. And we're seeing phenomenal demand for it, a lot of back orders. So please, if you have an application for this, don't be shy about going to your distributor, your branch, and saying, hey guys, I'm going to need these, and see if they can get it on the pre-order list, excuse me, for you. And then here's just an example of a conference room, exactly what we talked about. So this particular case is the new piece, the OMS52W. And you can see I've got the piece here. I've got a laptop plugged into it. I've got a speakerphone plugged into the USB input. I've got a receiver up here, an HDbaser receiver that also has USB capability. So that's up by the TV. I can plug a camera into it. I've got audio output here that I can run to a separate little amplifier in the room. So now this is a full-on conference room standalone solution with no third-party control required. This does everything automatically, and it's simple and easy for you to configure. If you haven't done it, if you're not familiar with Atlona, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we have a full training program you can go through. You can pull up a little video on this, and in 15 minutes, know exactly how to program it. Okay. All right, and then just a couple of other pieces I'm just going to go through real quick because we're getting short on time here, but I just wanted to make you guys aware that we have a ton of solutions. We have the ST31, which is a 3-in, 1 output or mirrored, or 2 output mirrored solution. We have an SW32. This is a great little piece. If you need a small matrix switcher, this is actually a true matrix. So you've got 3 inputs and 2 outputs. These 2 outputs can either be mirrored, or you can set it up to be matrix separately. So I've got a 3x2 matrix here for $700 MSRP. Okay. This is a great piece that we just introduced recently. So this is I always debate on putting this in this section with the Omega products or putting it in with the extender line of products. But it's an extender pair, first and foremost, but hey, we've added USB extension as well. So now you see I've got a host input, USB, and I've got device inputs here. And on the receiver, I've got device as well. So now I've got USB. So now over that same category cable, I'm sending audio, video, control, and USB signal back and forth over a single cable. $1,000 MSRP. Okay, so again, now instead of having to run a separate extender pair just for USB extension, I can do it all over the same extender pair. Okay. And then there's a wall plate version of it as well. Okay, this is just a light version. So this is a 70-meter chipset instead of a 100-meter. And no Ethernet, no data on this piece. It'll do USB, but it won't do data over the HDbaser output or cable. Okay, and a wall plate version as well. I'm going to skip by this product, but feel free to reach out to us. But we've got tons and tons of product. We call it our CLSO line or Classroom Small Office. Basically, in a nutshell, 6 different inputs, whatever format you want, HDbaser and HDMI outs, a microphone input as well. That'll take any type of microphone you want to plug into it. And it has mic ducking built into it as well. Okay. So again, a very flexible piece so that now I can have several inputs. I can have a mic. I can set it up so that somebody's in a classroom. As soon as they pick up that microphone, the background music that's going into HDMI input number 1, for instance, is going to mute itself automatically. As soon as somebody finishes talking and puts the mic down, it's going to bring that background music back up. So again, a lot of flexibility. Again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time, but feel free, please, to reach out to us with any questions that you have on this type of product. And then this is the same thing. It's the Omega version of it, the CLSO. We've just added a USB hub to the mix as well. So audio video inputs, however you want to input it, microphone input, mic ducking, USB hub built into it, and then HDbaser and HDMI mirrored or matrixed outputs. Okay, and then this piece I want, this is a piece, so this is our Omega MS42. So this is a piece for that customer that doesn't need wireless capability. It's basically the same as what we talked about with the SW510 and the MS52, but without the without the wireless capability. So I have the USB hub here. I have all of the various inputs and outputs, and I have the HDMI and HDbaser outputs as well that can be matrixed. Okay. All right, and again, just an example of some other products. So we have a full line of cameras. Cameras are absolutely going nuts right now. So I just want to warn everybody up front that we're seeing a ton of orders coming in on cameras right now because of the current situation and what's going on in classrooms and boardrooms, et cetera. But we have a full line of HDVS-CAMs. These are all point, tilt, zoom cameras that can be controlled with just about any third-party app that controls a camera. We have an HDMI or a USB output version. That's the HDVS-CAM, available in black or white. And then we have a HDVS-HDMI out version of the same camera, again available in black or white. And then we have an HDbaser out version of the same camera, again available in black or white. And these all are shipping now, okay? But again, just wanted to warn you, order early on these pieces as we're seeing just silly demand going forward on these pieces. Okay, now this is a unique piece I wanted to talk about. So we talked about that automatic display control, turning the TV on automatically and all that good stuff. This is for a solution. If you've got just a local TV, you've got just a source or a laptop plugged into a TV, and you want that automatic display control capability, you want to be able to just plug your camera, your source or whatever into the HDMI input. This piece will do it. So you plug into the HDMI input, this will automatically turn the display on and turn the display back off again once you unplug. It's just an add-on piece, $380 MSRP, so it gives you some flexibility and makes it simple, easy for huddle spaces, et cetera, for your customers. Okay, we do have a series of audio products that I'm gonna breeze over here. We've got some 70 volt amps, a standard 40 watt or 20 watt times 2, 40 watt times 1 amp. And then we've got our HDR, I do want to talk about this piece, the HDR M2C. So this piece is a video down mixer, not a pull off. So what this piece will actually do is you plug an HDMI input to here, and it's 5.1 or 7.1 surround going into it. It's actually going to down mix that to a true stereo mix. It's different than a stripper in that if you just have an audio stripper and you do this same thing, it's just going to pull the left and the right off of a 5.1 soundtrack. Does you no good whatsoever, because as you know, for instance, on a movie, all the dialogue is on that center channel speaker, and you would lose that otherwise. This piece actually takes that 7.1 mix and down mixes it to a true stereo mix. So it takes that center channel, the rear channels, etc., and sends that audio to the 2 main speakers. It's a great add-on pieces for Apple TV applications, things like that. Okay. All right, and then we've got tons of cables, tons of connectors, etc. I'm not going to talk about this because I wanted to give Stephen a little bit of time to talk about a training program that we do have in place for you guys. We introduced it, actually, let me go through. And talk about the training. There we go. So we have a resource that's available to all of you. And like I said, I know there's a lot of dealers on here, as well as a lot of Voluatone, Custom Plus, et cetera, personnel. So but this is a training program that's available to all of you. We do have a custom one specifically for Snap AV, but first for all of the dealers that may be listening to us, it's the Atlona Academy. So just go to our website, click on the Atlona Academy, and we can get you on. This is absolutely free. It's a full-on training course that gives you CEDIA credits, whatever you want, and it's simple, self-paced, etc. Stephen, do you want to talk specifically about the SNAP program for the SNAP people that are on?
Yeah, so about a month and a half ago, we released a specific training module on the LMS system, on our learning management system, for Snap AV and the affiliates. And really what that was a streamlined training on all of our products. As you can see, Kurt going through some of them, we have about 1.5 million products. So what we wanted to do was highlight some of the products that were key specific to the CEDIA market, and some of those light commercial pieces, which we think that a lot of CEDIA integrators can get into installing. So that online training module, everyone was supposed to go through it, but it's actually only about it's less than a half an hour worth of content on there. So it's really to just give you a good baseline to hit the ground running with Atlona products and the products that you guys should all know about and be talking about if someone asks you about video distribution things. So aside from that, if you do want to get more in-depth training, we have days worth of content on there with our 100 through 500 level courses. So anyone can go on there and get any information that they want. Another thing to keep in mind, and I don't know if Kurt, did you put the system design stuff on this?
No, I didn't, Steve, sorry.
Okay, so another thing that we rolled out towards the beginning of this year for Snap AV was a system design form. So any direct Atlona dealer has access to free system design for us, but we wanted to give the distribution channel, specifically Snap, and its affiliate partners, a way that they can submit system design requests for dealers that are purchasing through them. So on the Snap AV website, there's actually a dedicated form on there that you go to the link, you fill out the form, and that actually comes over directly to our sales engineering team. And they will take that, they'll reach out to the integrator directly, have a consultation with them to find out about the project if they don't have all the information from that form right in front of them. And they will work to create a bill of materials, line drawings, and just talk to the integrators in general about how to configure the Atlona product there. So once they have that, they'll receive the MSRP pricing, and then they can either go to onto the Snap website themselves and add the things to their cart, or go to obviously any of the affiliate branches to pick up any of those products. But like I said, that's totally free to utilize. You'll start seeing it pop up on every single Atlona product page on Snap. But there is actually a link that all of you should have received, both from us and from Snap directly, that has the link to that system design form. and you can send that out to integrators directly, or have them on the line and fill in the form for them. But like I said, definitely something to take advantage of, because we do have 1.5 million products. I can't even keep track of all of them, so I'm sure you guys can't keep track of all of them and how to implement them correctly. So definitely take advantage of the system design.
Perfect. Okay.
Guys, Stephen, thank you with that. I'll make sure that I've got links on my my thank you video today, or my thank email. The system design form, maybe I'll find that for these guys. And also, Kurt, you had mentioned training on and that huddle space training, which was really, I love the whole Omega line, and I really want to continue that dialogue with our dealers that it's such an urgent possibility right now. Like I said to you earlier before we started the webinar, guys are coming up to me and they don't even know how to describe what it is that they can offer. What's apropos, for instance, out there. But you guys have definitely got not only but the products to cover it. So I definitely want to keep that huddle space light commercial in this conversation. So I'll put together a pretty competent email today that encompasses everything that Stephen talked about, as well as Kurt. Guys, any Q&A? I don't see Q&A right now particularly, but we went through the line. That was fantastic. Anything else to sum up for the dealers out there?
No, just we really appreciate it, guys. And like I said, anybody, my contact information is up on the screen there, and you'll get it from Gary as well. So feel free to reach out if you've got any questions, if you're interested in the training. I can actually give you a link to get into the trainings. That's simple. I'll send that to Gary to include with when he sends out the thank you note. Right. And again, it's a simple, easy process. We'll give you a website to go to and a code you plug in, and you'll be up and ready to go on the training site.
All right, guys. Alan, thank you. Carl, Esmond, Jeff, we've got Carl, and hey, we've got Joaquin on here. Joaquin, buddy. Thank you. He hasn't interjected anything, so I think he's just kind of, standing in the wings there. Joaquin was great as far as the Atlona introduction to the Volume staff. And Stephen, I think that you've done that as well with the affiliates on your side of things, just keeping not only the salespersons, up to date, but allowing, like you said, that whole design phase from dealer to the salespersons is super important. We're here to help you guys not only take a job and take it to the next level, but make money with it and offer great features. That's the bottom line. So again, we're here for you. Last call out for any questions. Come on, I don't mind you guys drilling Kurt here. I really don't mind you on the spot. Okay. No, but again, thank you guys. It's a Friday, I know it, and I really appreciate the time you spent with us. Like I said, I'll start rendering this video. I'm going to stop this right now. And yes.